Yeah. Hello everyone. Good morning and good evening. So, let's start today's session. Mm, Let me load the project. Here. Okay. So, D drive workspace. Yeah. One second. Okay. So Angular. I think here I have first tab. Okay. So file open paste. Okay. Okay. Fine. And yeah. So last class actually we were discussing about NGRX with structural directives we have discussed. That is the hobby select. Okay, so I think this code I have taken a backup. Let me check once. Uh, in NGRX, yeah, structural directives, SRC, we have. Okay, fine. So we have taken a backup. Okay, so today we are going to discuss something next concept of it. So what is that is, I'm gonna get data from the server. So how can you deal with a server connection? So till now we discuss NGRX. One second, let me increase the voice. Yeah. So till now we have discussed about the NGRX with the local state management, right? So we just maintain the local application data, how to interact with the component NGRX and all we have discussed. But now something next level today, how to deal with a server. So how can you fetch data from server? And that server fetching logic where you supposed to write. So previously when I yeah once again. So previously, when you're writing the server side logic, so what you supposed to do is you create a component. Yeah, you create a component and then you create a service. So this service can be injected directly to the component and you can use the logic. Okay, so this is the component and this is the service. Okay, so service can be injected to component directly and component can start using the service to deal with the database, I mean server calls and all you used to perform. But now in between there's a new technology has come, that is NGRX. Okay, new library is so in NGRX, what it says is you don't have a connection like this. You never ever inject the service directly to the component. Okay, so because this through this service only we will receive data from server. Correct. So service having connection to the server and itself is better database and all. So this service can never be injected to component because it's supposed to connect to the NGRX. So how service will connect to NGRX is through the new concept in NGRX is FX. So using FX, we can connect to the service and we'll receive the data. Okay. So what I'm saying is I have a clear picture of it. I'll give you the diagram as well. I think for morning batch I made it. Um, Angular code NGRX for FX SRC. If you go to notes, yeah, this is the flow. Yeah, so this is the flow diagram for the basic, the local state management. It means when an event occurs in the view layer, like a HTML, you receive that event to the component, and that component for any event triggers like data binding, right? So any event is triggered here. So that this component is going to dispatch an action. So for this particular action, my reducer is having connection with the action and state. So this will take the existing state of the application and also the action accordingly. It will modify the state and provided this returns a new state, right? So new state is there. And also this component can receive the state from the store and update that state to the view. So this is the process we have discussed till now in NGRX. So now something more has changed because here there is no involvement of service, Angular service. So the complete picture of NGRX with the service diagram is uh, this one. Let me open. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, this is the complete picture. Only this part we'll see. Extra, this part also will be there. Okay. So if you closely observe, previously what happened, view, if you don't have NGRX, so view component service server. So server service component view, only those things are there. So now the flow has completely changed. What is that is, see here, server and service. This flow is common because service having connection to the HTTP client. Okay, this gets the HTTP client. One second. Yeah. So service gets the HTTP client and through that receive the data from server, right? But this service cannot be injected to the component directly. It will be injected to something special, uh, uh, NGRX stuff called FX. Okay, and this FX involved with an action, and this action will modify the reducers and all. Okay, this is the flow actually. Okay, so let me take an example where all these things comes into picture. Okay, so here I have a notes as well. Here in this I have a notes as well. Yeah, this is the notes. Okay, you have to create a store, dev tools, and extra you have to install one more library of NGRX is FX, because till now we were not using FX because there is no involvement of FX earlier. So now FX concepts has come. So for to deal with this FX creation and all, we need one extra third-party module called FX. So these three third-party modules you must have to install when you really deal with an Angular application, the real Angular application, because every Angular application supposed to get data from the server. Okay, so very rare we maintain data in local. Generally in real time, it's supposed to get data from the server only. Okay, and even send and receive data, everything happens with the server. Okay, so those setup. So this is extra you have to install, and after that you have to create a store. So store we have discussed, store how to create, action reducer also, but extra what has come is effect. So how to create an effect. Okay, this is the command to create an effect like schematics. Actually something is missing in this, you need to set up the schematics also. No, you have to install schematics and all. uh, I think that is, mm, yeah, this one. So I need actually this setup. Copy. So I'll keep that here. Okay. So first I write a proper definition. Uh, First of all, install NGRX libraries, these three, and you can also install the schematics. Why schematic? See, these are all NGS libraries. Store means the maintain the store action reduces and all. We need the store. Store DevTools is actually for debug purpose, and FX for the server side calls and all, and schematics for automatic key generation, automatic files generation of all this stuff like store effect and all this schematics also required. You may give this option or just it's optional. You can keep it. Uh, you can just keep empty also. Yeah, fine. And after that, next, configure configure uh, it NGRX class schematics with Angular with Angular CLI. Okay, so this is the step. This is an extra step. You need to do it. This is the one. Okay, so once you have done with this step, see, first you have installed all the library, but how to create the snippet is, see, everywhere we are using NGRX schematics, store, NGRX schematics, FX, action, reducer like that. But before that, what I'm giving is NG generator. So NG stands for Angular CLI, NGG and all, right? So NG generate schematic. So to create a store of NGRX by using the ng command, you have to add that schematics to the Angular. Okay, so this library setup I need to add to my Angular first. So once you have added, then only this generation codes and all work. Okay, so this is the second step, and then FX configuration also there. We'll see how to create an FX and all, right? So this is the documentation. Okay, so first of all, let's start from scratch. I delete all the components, reducer, app component also not required, hobby selector, and app module also I don't need any environment, hobby selector, nothing required, and hobby component not required, forms module, this is not required. Yeah, it's just now empty. Okay, so empty app module, no routing we have discussed till now, so just leave it. And then what else? um App component also we cleared, and also no component has mentioned here. Okay, that's fine, and let's make this NGRX with fx fx and http library. Okay, fine, so we made just empty setup. So let's run the program, I mean let's run the application, and then we do everything from scratch. So npm start. Okay, so now we are defining this whole setup. We have to create a view component, I mean component only will get the view, this html, this is ts file. Okay, so we need a store. Selector is nothing special file, we just get data from the store only selector. So store, separate creation required, action required, reducer required, effect required, service required, server also required. Okay, anyway, server means some like github some github gist, we create some dummy json file, no, we'll get that one. Okay, so yeah, I need to get the server also. So what I do is, let me go to github gist, come on, github gist. Yeah, so if you go here, um customers, if I click on customers, yeah, this is the list of all the customers information. Okay, so when I just click on the raw button, when I click on the raw button, so you get all the list of customers. Okay, so now what is my plan is, I want to fetch this data from this particular URL using the complete NGRX setup with Angular components and Angular services. Okay, so let's see the whole story now. Okay, now it's building the application. Let's wait for this. Okay, so this data I want to read it and display in a tabular format. That's very simple display and all, but how to give a connections, how to create its files and all, that's a bigger story. We'll do from scratch. So if you have done this one, you can develop any kind of application with NGRX and backend with FX and all the story. Okay, so here, okay,
ऐकू थोडंसं
yeah. So first,
दाखव
what I,
लाईक नंतर हां
bro,
ग्रुप
please mute
पाठवतात.
Rahul. Rahul, please mute. Okay, okay, fine. So now let's install all this. I'm going to install everything from scratch. Okay, again, I have already these two, but I'm doing it again. Yeah. So, and also meanwhile, let me grab all this notes also, because we have notes here. These three, copy, and if you want Angular 10, actually I think it is there in the Google Drive. So in notes, these two not required. Let's space. Okay. Okay. So we have FX structure. Okay, FX control flow only, without FX control flow, and the complete nodes to do this entire setup. So, and also let me open this in Explorer, because let me add some more nodes of it. So let's open that in Notepad++. Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, what you do? Can we create a component and then we'll start better? Okay. The very first thing is, for this example, first create a component and one service. Okay, create a component and service, and then we'll start with this setup, because actions and all we have to execute for the particular component, no, so better we'll keep a component first and then we'll do the whole story in a single shot. Okay, so what is my component name is, I want to get list all the customers. So customers is my component name. So how to create is nggc customers. Okay, and create a service is customer dot service. How to create is nggs customer. Okay, so these two we supposed to create and then we'll do the next step. Okay, first let me do one thing. Let me create one folder, new directory, components, and also I create another directory called services. I create another directory called models. Why models is to represent this data structure. I mean this whole type, right, interface. The object type you have to define as a model. Okay, so let me go to the components. Open terminal. So let's say
We don't
npm.
want views.
Sorry,
We don't want views folder.
views folder not required because component only inside HTML file is there. Na? See every
Okay, okay.
component, yeah, every component means HTML and TS. TS is component, HTML is a view. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, here it is given in a different format, but these two combination is view. I mean, this whole thing is component only. This HTML file.
Right. Got it.
Okay, yeah,
Got it. Got it.
yeah. Okay, so terminal. Let's say nggc customers. Enter. Okay, fine. So let me go to services folder. You can do right click and open terminal, but I'll just do cd space dot dot cd space services. Yeah. So nggs customer. Enter. Okay. So service has been created. Fine. Now we have to create a model, but model is a long story, right? Because we have to define an object with gender, name, and all. I think some time back we made. I think we have taken a time and we made everything, right? I think I have to check somewhere in the contact tab or something. We have defined this model actually. Let me go there. I think in evening batch only, I guess. In evening batch, somewhere in fundamentals, contact tabs or something. Same data was there. SRC app models. Yes, I hope I got. Okay. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, to define the proper data structure. Yeah, I need just this one. Copy this. Yeah, I make it in my models. Right click new TypeScript. I just say I contact or just contact. No, not contact is the customer. Now name is belongs to customer. No, so I customer. Enter. So in this I'll paste it. I think name we have to change. This is I customer. Okay. So now we have a model which gets every data structure of it. Okay, fine. So what we have done till now, we made, yeah, we made a component, service, and model. Okay, just say I customer dot ts file. This you have to create manually. This is a model. Okay, done. So now let's start with NGRX libraries creation. We have to install all these 4 libraries for us. Okay. So let me go to terminal, not in services or something, just open a fresh root directory. Here, let me install one by one, copy. Actually, you can install all together. You can give space, space, space like that, but let me do it one by one. Actually, you want to install all together, command will be npm install. Just give all the names with a space. This name space, this name space, this name, and this name. Like this. So if you give all the spaces like this, all the libraries will install together. Okay, but I'm just doing one by one. Come on, it's got stuck. Yeah, I think it's made. So the next step, like this, copy, paste, enter. So NGRX means a lot of configuration you have to do and complete too many files and too much configuration required. And this actually helps a lot because this commands helps a lot because instead of I mean if you want to create everything from scratch, it's a too much time taking process and too much confusion also will be there. Okay, so thanks to NGRX semantics. Okay, and even Angular CLI. Angular CLI obviously required. Yeah. So the next one is FX. You have to install, copy, paste it, enter. So make sure you install them in the first tab because it requires the package.json to install all the local libraries, just like npm third-party module. So in the first tab we have package.json. So exactly in the place of package.json you have to install this. Otherwise it will complain we don't have package.json and all. Okay. So next, yeah, this is the one, copy. Yeah, it's done. Okay, so once it is done, either these all or this one is fine. And we need to add this, copy and paste again, enter. Simply execute one after the other, okay? Up to here. Okay, so it's done. So now CLS. Yeah, installation of all packages is done. So let's create a store effects, actions and reduces. So remember, store and effects in the root module, and these two belongs to the particular component. Okay, so store root level store, effects also root level effects because mostly for one application at least one store will be there and one what's called so one effect should be there. Okay, for the whole application, let me show here. Yeah, the store is there, na? For whole application at least to one. I mean, this is like a module specific. Okay, for one module, one store, one effect required. Okay, hardly we have only one module in this example, app module. So one store, one effect is enough. And number of components you create in an app module, this store, this effect will work for that. Okay, in the next examples we'll see how to make our own modules also, right? We have discussed routing with modules. So in that case, root level store and effect, module level also store and effect will come. Okay, because this is module specific. So root level also it will be there. Every module user defined module also we have module level store, module level effects also will be there. Okay, and everything we have to configure with these guys, root level. Okay, fine. Now let's start with the basic one and then we'll see the complex one with modules. Yeah, so we have to execute this in the root level, store, copy, paste it in a first tab, enter. I think enter. Okay, it's created. Yeah, we all know once you have done with this line, so it will set up the store and it will configure the store dev tools and all with your app module. So once you have done with the first line, so you can just check the confirmation. It's supposed to be enable. Is it refreshing? Yeah, it's enabled now. Okay, so you can just inspect now to the Redux. Yeah, so store has been initialized for us with some raw data as empty store has been initialized for us. Okay, after this confirmation, you can run this command for effect. So and then fx also will initialize here. One more line will come call fx. Yeah, copy this, go to the root level again, paste it, enter. It asks for success failure. Just say yes. Whatever the question asks, just say why. Okay, so it just create a fx file and also it does some update in the app module as well. Okay, so you can just refresh your application and check something comes here regarding fx. Yeah, nothing has come. You get the error actually. See, error has come. Okay, let's see the console. Uh, null injector error. No provider for fx root module. Okay, fx root module. Actually, this is the small bug in this creation. Okay, this creation small bug is there, and also make sure see this customer name. I already made a customer name because the customers right. So customer name I given. Okay, but problem is it says no provider for root module. Okay, let me see that what's the problem. Problem will be I know this problem already. What is that? Go to the app module. Yeah, in app module, see here. Here is the error. Okay, so earlier we know these two, right? Store.for root environment dev tools module. These two we used to come, and this line adds extra when you run the fx command. But thing is, see for feature. Sir, what is this for root to for feature? For root means I tell you. For example, if you have a state, assume this is your whole application state. In that, every component like app component level, one state. Okay, and like this, comma customers module, one state like that, and then let's say stocks module, one state like this. So this whole thing is um, your application state inside every component level or every module level we have it. So this whole thing is called for root. This I mean this to get the whole object is for root, and this app is there na app this customers the nested module I mean the nested property of the root object is called feature. This is the feature, this is the feature, this is the feature. Okay, so to define the feature first root should be defined. So generally in app module we'll define the root, and for every module level we'll define a feature because this is customers module data, this is stocks module data that way. So while doing in the inside modules creation effects we'll write for feature, but this is app module root level no. So root level it must be a for root. Okay, if you give for root everything works perfect. uh, it still says the problem. No, it's supposed to for feature is there, you use with for root. It's correct only. Class fx root module is not an Angular module. Huh? How come? It's saying this is not an Angular module. Without Angular module, how can we use that? Yeah. Customer FX. Yeah, FX module comes under NGRX. No, wait. I think it's some issue with the um this application setup or something. Let me restart once and then we'll see. I think that's fine actually. You're supposed to write for root only there. Okay, let me run this again. npm start, because application has already been started, no? So maybe in between it doesn't pick up that. Let me restart this and see. If you get some error, then we'll find out. It's supposed to be root. Okay, so now it is compiled successful. It doesn't throw any error. Now I hope it's fine. But still it's showing some error here. But I think that's fine. Maybe my WebStorm cannot able to detect or something, but that's fine. See, no error here. And also when you go to here, in Redux we were getting some error, no? Yeah, see, now no error. The error has gone. See, console window, no error has there. And if you go to Redux also, see, two initialized, fx initialized, store also initialized, right? So it means it clearly says that has been initialized successful. There is no error in the console log also, and there is no error in the uh, Angular startup logs also. Fine. I think this is some issue with my WebStorm setup. That's fine. Just ignore it. Okay. It's not supposed to come, but let's see. So everything fine. So remember, once you have done with this step, right? Make a note here. Update, update app.module.ts file with this one. Yeah, let me grab that. This is for root. Okay, so this supposed to be updated there. It should be for root. For root instead of for feature. Okay, it was for feature, but it's supposed to be for root. That's fine. And customers effects will be there inside. Yeah, and then these two should be for each component level. So let me open a components folder. I think customers folder. Right click, open in terminal. Yep, here. Copy this. I already given the customer name. So copy this, paste, enter. So it asks for yes or no. Yes. See, till now we were giving yes only, but we never use success and failure action. Now this is the perfect time to understand what is success and failure actions. Okay. So if you deal with server, this is supposed to be required. So y and y. Okay. Previously also we given y and y, but we never use it. I'll tell you how to use now. Reducer also copy, paste it, and here also y and y. Okay, done. So now configuration is done. Okay, not a single line of application logic, but just the configuration has done. We just create an empty, yeah, I show you. We just create an empty component, empty store, empty action, empty reducer, empty effect, empty service, like that. But one extra thing is, this reducer has not configured to store. This must be connected. Reducer has to be connected to store. Let's do that. Where is the store root level? In the reducers folder, index.ts. Yeah, here I just import the reducer. Import star as, I think some mistake is there. Array. Yeah, import star as customer reducer from dot slash components folder slash customer slash reducer slash customer reducer. Okay, so in this you need to give the feature key and state. So customer reducer dot feature customer feature key, and here customer reducer dot state, and also configure the reducer customer reducer dot customer feature key, and also with customer reducer dot reducer. Yeah, this is the configuration. So if you have done the configuration, so let's check the feature key now. If you go to redux initial data empty. Yeah, this empty. Why empty? Feature key is there na, feature key customer is there, customer has to come na. Refresh. Yeah, customer has come, correct. See, now customer has come because I have done the configuration of this to the root level. So customer mod, I mean customer component to data, that's fine. Okay, so it means we have connected reducer to store, our customer reducer to store. Fine. Okay, now it's time to define the setup. So what is the setup is very simple. I have to get the data from this particular URL and display in my component. So to get this data from URL, so what you're supposed to do, from where we have to start? Can we starts from component? No, component is just empty. Action? No. Okay, I do from server. Okay, reverse. I do from server. First, let me create a service. Already server data is there, right? Achha, this is the server, GitHub server, and we have a URL, we have data. So let me create a service to fetch the data, and from then I'll start with the Redux setup. Okay, first let's write a service, because why I'm writing service is in the effects you have to deal with service. Okay, so once you are done with service, we only focus on NGRX, then component directly if everything is done. Okay, so let's create a service. Let's focus on service. Go to customer components over customer. Actually, this is supposed to be inside of that, right? Because components folder is there. Okay, anyway, root level, no? Yeah, services, customer service. Yeah, here, what you have to write, you have to get data from the server. It means you have to get the HTTP client module. I mean, HTTP client. So HTTP client means you need to declare the HTTP client module in the app module. So let me check app module. Do we have HTTP client module? There is not there. Oh, okay, it's not there. So let's say import HTTP clients module, and let's attach the clients module to the import statements. Just ignore this line, okay? Um, yeah, so clients module has been added, so you can start using the client module in the service. So let me inject, so private HTTP client of type HTTP client. Okay, and so what's your function is load. Okay, let's write something public load customers. That's my method. So fetch data from the server. So I need to grab the URL of it. So this is the URL copy. So I write here let data URL of type string is equal to empty. I mean that's this URL. And then what's supposed to do? Return return what? This dot HTTP client dot get request to my data URL dot pipe in this retry of 1. Okay, so here you will be receiving the data in array of customer object, array of customer objects. So we already defined the model of a customer. So if you can recollect, in models folder I have a I customer with data, so the array of this data only will come. So let me declare that as an observable of type, so I customer array. Okay, and also let me declare the same story for my get here. So both should match. That's fine. So now it's success. But I want to get the catch error or something. Okay, handle errors and all. That code I usually forget. Let me grab it from some other service. I think, yeah, contact service somewhere. I grab the error handling code. Yeah, this is the one. Copy that as it is. So paste it and let me handle error. So let me import the statements, add import statement, add import statement. Okay, and let me connect that here. So comma catch error of this dot handle error. Okay, error handler. So this returns an error message if something went wrong. Okay, so my service is ready to fetch data. Fine. So now what to do? What to do is your component has to get the service data and display. But actually, what happens previously? Previously, what happened? Once you done the service, you inject the service to component and you receive data from directly service and you add here because previously we used to maintain data in a component level. That's why we used to do it. So now the problem is uh, one second. I'm getting a call. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so previously we used to get the service injected to the component. From there, we used to fetch data and all. That's the previous thing. Okay, so now we never maintain data in a component level. We supposed to maintain data in a NGRX store. So service has to connect to the NGRX setup. Okay, and we have to dispatch only action. So it means in the component, you never see a service call. Okay, you never see a injecting of service and all. You only inject the service. You only inject the store and you only deal with the store. You get data from store, you dispatch an action to the store. That's it, only store. The store itself will take care about the service and all. Okay, let's see how connection made. So before I start with all this, first where we start is after you're done with this. Yeah, let's start with action, reducer, and everything. First, let's start with action. So action means actually what's my plan is I have to fetch all the customers data and display in my component. Okay, actually that component has been not configured. No component created, but in my app component is not configured. Let's say app customers. Okay, this empty message as of now. We'll design ladder, but focus on the main thing. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's create a action. Action means what? I want to fetch data from the server. Okay, so till now, okay, I tell you some story. So till now, when you're dealing with action, we just create a simple action. Like for example, uh, we discuss the product item, right? I think I write here. We discuss the product item example. So in product item example, we have taken only two actions. What is that? Increment quantity and one more is decrement quantity. These two we have taken, right? Because this is just deal with the local data. We used to write only just two actions, right? Now in my customers, I need to fetch data actually from server. Okay, I need to fetch data from server. So whenever, just remember, whenever your action deals with server side data, if it is just local, you can take just one action is fine. Okay, so when your action is dealing with server side data, when you want to fetch data from server, when you trigger an action, or when you want to push data to server, when you trigger an action, so that action will be a combination of three actions. Okay, it will be a combination of three actions. It means it will be like this. First, actually, what is that action? Load customers. I want to just load customers is my action. So this action contains of two other actions. One is load customer success, and one more is load customer failure. load customer failure. Okay, it means from your component, from this particular component, I am going to trigger an action call load customer. Okay, only just load customer I call. But this internally have two other actions will call success and failure. It means when you call customer, so this will call actually the service, okay, to get data. So why it is like this is if you call service to get data, you may receive data, you may not receive data, right? If you receive data, store contains the proper data. If you receive the error, store contains the error information. Okay, so to differentiate that, we have two other actions internally. So if you call load customer, it will call the service to get data. And if you receive successful, you call this action internally. If you receive something failure, some error, you call this internally. And where actually all this gets called is in the FX. Okay. But before that, when you're dealing with actions creation, you have to create these three actions. Okay. So that's what in my where is that components, customers, actions, we have three actions: load customers, customer success, customer failure. Okay, so these things has come automatically when you create an action as per the our notes. See here, as per this command, it asks, right, while executing this action command, it asks fail, I mean success failure actions can be created or not. We just given y. So with that, these three has come. But previously we used to remove this because we are not using. So now we have to use them. So load customers to fetch data. Okay, and in load customer, do we need to provide any data? Nothing, because I just need to fetch data from server. Nothing to provide something to server. You want to send something to server, you have to write a props and all, but load customer just empty function. Yes. Next, load customer success. If you receive successful data, this gets called. Okay. So if you receive successful data, what is supposed to get? For example, if you see the service, you understand. In service, see here, this is what it writes. So when you call load customer function, this is supposed to get data. So if it is successfully received data, what type of data it will be? Customer array is my data. So successful data will be customer array. Error will be error will be a simple string. See, it is a string, right? Yeah. So you receive successful is I customer array. Error will be a string. So you have to define that in the action. So if it is customer successful data, so this will be customers data will be I customer array, because I'm receiving the I customers array. Generally, you call this action only from component. Internally, it will make these two depend on the result of service call. Okay, and if it is failure, you get the error of type string, because we are written a logic to return a string. It can be client or this error, right? So you have to define customers receive this one, error receives string. Fine. So this is actions creation. Now let's start with the reducer. Okay. So how to write a reducer for each action is like this. First, let me go to reducer, customer reducer. Yeah. So in customer reducer, you have to define the state. Generally, what could be the state? We receive data from the server in an array of customers. So what data should be there in the state? Actually, mm, why you have to define the state data is, see here. Here, service will receive data, correct? So previously what happened, service data will keep in the component level. Okay, but now data is supposed to be there in the store. From the store, I receive to component. So service will receive data. That data I supposed to keep in a store. So store means you have to define that, you have to catch hold of data with some variable, right? That is this data. So you can write customers with I customer array. Okay, one more is required. What is that? You may receive error also, na? Because here you may receive error also, na? So you have to define the error also in the store. Error message also. Let's take string. One more is required. What is that? Loading flag. Let's take boolean. Okay, so what is this loading flag? Actually, when you deal with servers, loading flag plays a major role, because see here, when I trigger an action, okay, when I want to fetch data, I think you might have seen the real application. When you click on load customer button, it will display one spinner. After the spinner, data will come, correct? So to display that spinner until you receive the data is this loading flag. Okay, so what we do is we will send a request to server. By the time you receive the response, because receiving response from server takes time, meanwhile, right, some milliseconds or something. So meanwhile, I'll keep the loading to true, and once I receive, loading will be false. So this is required for loading the spinner, so I need this one. So remember, when you deal with anything server side data fetching, it must be three things: loading, the data, and the error. Okay, and also three set of actions: load customers, success, and failure. Okay, so let me deal the data. So this is the type. Now initial data just will be, by default, loading will be false, and customers will be this empty array, because one before you receive it just empty, and empty error message, initial state. Okay, and also please check, once you have done the initial state, and this state has already been configured to the root state. I mean, this reducer, right? This reducer has already been configured to the state. So now you can check here. See, customers was empty earlier. Now data has been come. So this is the initial state of your application. Okay. Then you have to write each action how these supposed to change. This is your real state. Okay. So on uh, what is action? Yeah, let me import all actions, because there are a lot of export statements are there. All this can be import with one variable. So let me write an import statement. Import star as, import star as. One second. I used to get one package. I think the delivery boy is calling. One second. Okay. Um, Sorry, yeah. Yeah, let's continue. So import star as customer actions from, what, dot slash actions slash customer actions. Okay. So you get the customer actions. Let me write the logic here. So okay, here customer actions dot load customer. Okay, so let's make this here. Let's make a function. Okay, here you have a state. So load customer doesn't have any property, right? It doesn't take any property. So just write only state. So this written a basic, just say dot state, and I write loading is true. Okay, by the time you call load customer, after this action call only it will send a request to server. Okay, by the time you receive data from server, this will be keep loading. Okay, fine. Yeah, do one thing. Now what's the time? I think too many things we have discussed today. So yeah, already 1 hour. So let's take a 5 minutes break and then we'll meet afterwards. Okay, and even I have some work outside. Okay, so we'll meet in 10 minutes. Okay, let me pause it.